Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're choosing to watch this. We're glad you're tuned in to Journey. Just take the next few minutes as we set apart this time in devotion to worship, to let God do a work in you. And that's going to be our theme for the day. Just what is the work that God's doing in our heart together in this season?
You hear me when I call, you are my morning song. Though darkness fill the night, it cannot hide the light. Whom shall I fear? You crush the enemy underneath my feet. You are my sword and shield, though troubles linger still. Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. My strength is in your name, for you alone can save. You will deliver me, yours is a victory. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. Nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hands. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful. You are faithful. Nothing formed against me shall stand. You hold the whole world in your hands. I'm holding on to your promises. You are faithful. You are faithful. You are faithful. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. I know who goes before me, I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? The God of angel armies is always by my side. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever wilt be. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter and springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. And great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, thy own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. And all I have needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's devotion. And glad you're tuning in this week. If you notice already, I was trying to grow I was really jealous of all these quarantine beards I've been seeing. And thought I could, it got cool, so I thought I could do that. And then I realized how hot it's going to get, and I don't like it in the hot stage. And if you can't tell, there's a lot more white in there than I'm used to seeing. And so I don't know if you're gonna see a beard on me all that much anymore. I'm gonna blame coronavirus is what I'm gonna blame for the white, the extra white that's here. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that way, but me. But again, thank you guys so much for for just being a part of this. And hopefully, in the next few minutes, I can just encourage you in a way that will cause you to ask some questions. And the question that I was thinking through, just kind of where we are in this, is what is changing in you during this season? Okay. So, what's changing in you? What's changing in me during this season? Right. I think by now, we know we have to move forward with the pandemic, that it's not something that's just going to be over, not something that's going to be finished here in the next few weeks, so to speak. And I think people are feeling a lot more confident in terms of all the measures that we've taken and things that we're doing, that they want to move forward with working and things like that. And I believe most people believe we're going to get through this. I mean, we know there's going to be people that get sick, and we hate to see that number continue to climb, but I think most people have a general sense that we are going to get through this, and that's fine. But I think right now is the time to be asking, what are these days going to make of us? Okay, we're going to make it through this, but what are these days, this season? What is it going to make of us? And what's the work that God is doing in us that we need to be paying attention to? Okay. One of passage I want to read to you today is from James, the brother of Jesus. Well, we call him Pastor James. James was a pastor in Jerusalem and a leader of the church, and this is how he starts sort of his documented letter to the church in Jerusalem, and you'll know why in terms of history. Jerusalem was going under a lot of persecution, a lot of suffering for their faith, and James was kind of addressing the church, addressing his people, God's people. And so this is James 1. I'm just going to read a couple verses. It says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds." Okay, consider it pure joy, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Okay, that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. The faith is really what's going to be working during the season of trials. But what also kind of comes out of that is perseverance. And then I love this in verse 4. It says, "Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." And then he goes on to say, "But look, if you do lack wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you." Now, the reason I love that particular passage is for several reasons, but primarily it's the idea that we know there's going to be hard times, right? We know there's going to be struggle. He says, "I want you to count it as joy. I want you to count it as an opportunity, because your faith is going to be tested, and it's going to grow, hopefully. And then you're going to learn this perseverance, but perseverance is going to do a work in you. Let that happen. Okay, let that work finish so that you can be and you can experience what God really wants you to experience. If you struggle, this is why I love this passage. If you struggle in terms of, if you because it says you're not going to lack anything, but if you lack wisdom, if you lack the wisdom to see what God is doing in you right now, then just ask Him. Just ask Him, and He gives generously without finding fault, meaning that He's not going to like shame you because you don't know what's happening in your life right now. How could you not know what I'm doing in your life right now? That's not what's happening. He says, give it, the God is going to generously give you what you need to know in terms of how to view your current situation, okay? And again, it's going to be different for everyone across the board. I really do think that the biggest risk we run at the end of this, so to speak, is going back to our normal way of life after all of this season, right? To be the same person that you were when you started it, right? Now, I know some of you guys immediately think, well, that's not possible. And that's true. It's really not possible. But some people actually talk and use language that talks so much about, like, well, I want to get back to normal, and I want to get back to this, and I want to get back to this. And the reality is that it would be a really big mistake if all of this season happened in your life and you got to the end of it and you weren't different. Like, that would be such a waste of a season, right? We know that God's doing a work. The question is, what is He doing? What's changing in us this season, right? If we don't let God do the work and finish the work, like if we rush to get out of this, if we rush to sort of be in denial about everything around us, and just as quickly as possible try to move things back to quote unquote normal, then you're going to miss it, and the perseverance of your faith and work isn't going to grow. All right. This past week on Facebook, I just asked the question. I asked it on several of our accounts, including mine. I asked the question: what one thing do you hope remains in your life when everything returns back to normal? All right. What's the one thing you hope that remains in your life, personal, when everything returns back to normal? And it was so cool. I mean, there was probably 40, 50 responses between all the different pages. And I'll just list off a few because some of them were the same. The list was pretty amazing. Here's some of the lists: time for projects and time to accomplish some things you wanted to do, time with family, right? Quality time, that was a big one that got mentioned several times. Margin in our schedules, right? Yeah, margin in our schedules. Less shopping and stuff we don't need. So, sort of carving the fat, so to speak, right? Friendships were a big thing in terms of quality and friendships. Rest was mentioned a couple times. Calm, just experiencing the current calm of the season. Morning devotions, something as easy as morning devotions, just being able to be consistent about that. Walks in the neighborhood, that was another big one. Walks in the neighborhood. Relationships with neighbors, meaning that, these are, we were so used to pulling in our garage and closing the garage behind us and not really engaging with our neighbors. And I'm telling you, right now, sometimes that's all people have in terms of other interaction, is just driveway to driveway conversations, which has been really cool to see happen. And so several people talked about walks in the neighborhoods, again, relationships with neighbors happening. A couple people said time to reflect, meaning that there was less pressure because of the time. So you have a chance to reflect on things. And some other people said also time to dream, right? Because of the opportunities that are possible right now, and time to be able to dream about those things, about what they want to do and what God wants them to do. Appreciating the things that they have. That's a word we use, contentment. There's a couple people that just said, just I don't want to lose that sense of contentment of just appreciating what I have, not rushing after other things. Working from home was mentioned, which is true. A lot of people have, really would love for that to remain. The temporary pay raise that some of our people got, fantastic, right? Less expensive gas is another one, which I thought was really cool. Less expensive gas, why not? But I also, here's the point. Out of all of that, I want you to notice the things that were listed. I also want you to notice the things that weren't listed. Okay, when you're talking about what do I hope remains a part of me that's changed, there's some really good things there. Okay, now none of them were deeply spiritual, but understand that God's still at work in some of those things in your life. One of the things not listed are some of the things that we're just not good. We kind of miss, but we don't miss them at the core of what we really feel like is necessary in our life. But now is the time. That's my challenge to you. Now is the time to reflect on what God's doing. Right? What is He doing? What is the perseverance trying to finish His work in you? Like, what's that mean? One of my other favorite passages, you've heard me say it before, is Psalm 23. I love Psalm 23. I'll read the whole thing, but I'll read just the first few verses, right? The Lord is my shepherd, right? I lack nothing. Like, I shall not be in want. And verse 2 is the part that I highlight today, which says, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters, and He restores my soul, right? Listen, don't read any weird theological construct into this in terms of what God did or did not make happen in the midst of this. But I do want you to understand that there are times in which God makes us rest. Okay, there are times in which God actively takes even the circumstances that we're in that maybe He didn't make happen, but He makes us lay down. He makes us reflect. He makes us, cease from striving, to rest, to reset if even need be. That's why Sabbath is so important. We have a series coming up this summer about Sabbathing and resting and why it's so critical, why it was a command, why it's such a big deal. But part of that is, again, is it's not just resting like let's watch Netflix and zone out. No, it's an active rest, reflect, restore process, right? To rest, reflect, and restore, and because that's what he does. He restores our soul in the midst of that. And so my challenge in this devotion is not just think through, the superficial side of things in terms of, yeah, there's some really cool things I'd love to, that I hope kind of remain. Cheap gas would be great, sticking around. I'd love for you to think a little bit further. I'd love for you to think about what has been so challenging during this time for you. Where has your faith grown, okay, in terms of testing of your faith? And it's producing a perseverance. And more than anything, don't pull away from it. Let that perseverance do a work in you, which will help you, hopefully, answer the questions, right? What is God changing in you during this season? And what do you hope remains when everything seemingly returns? That's my challenge to you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will say we're really excited about some news that's coming out today and tomorrow about our church and about kind of our plans to reopen as a church. Now, just know we've put a lot of work and prayer and thought and effort into some of these plans and sort of some steps we're going to take. But we were just talking about this morning in our office that sometimes plans meet life and plans have to change. And so where nothing is ironclad, but we are taking some steps back towards in-person worship and continuing to do online worship. And this summer is going to be a summer of transition. And so I really do pray that everything that God's wanted to do in this season, in our life personally and in our church's life, perseverance is going to finish its work. And even through this summer, as it continues to do a work in us, that we will let this season change us for the better, that we will let God do a work in us collectively. I love you guys. Have an amazing rest of your day.